Joumana Kayrouz. You've seen her images on giant billboards across the metro. Joumana Kayrouz. You've seen her images on buses across the city. Now get to know Joumana Kayrouz.
The war broke out in my home country, Lebanon. I was 11 years old, and I saw a lot of bloodshed and inequality and poverty. You can't grow up in an environment like that and not be affected by it and not want to make a difference. I graduated from Yale University with a master's in ethics. I speak 4 languages. It has always been innate in me fighting for the underdog and trying to do whatever it is I can to make a difference in the world.
Let Joumana Kayrouz protect your rights. Call the law offices of Joumana Kayrouz at 1-866-YOUR-RIGHTS, extension 100, or visit yourrights.com.
مكاتب المحامية جومانا كيروز تتمنى لكم السلامة في ظل انتشار وباء كوفيد-19. المحامية جومانا كيروز مثلت على مدى 22 عاما ضحايا حوادث السيارات مع طاقم من المحامين ذوي الخبرة، وحصلت لموكليها على تعويضات بمئات الملايين من الدولارات. قبل أن تختار المحامي الذي سيدافع عن قضيتك، دقق في تاريخه المهني. ومع مكاتب جومانا كيروز ستنذهل بآراء مئات الموكلين وخبراتهم الإيجابية في جوجل ريفيوز. مكاتب المحامية جومانا كيروز يتحدثون لغتك العربية والكلدانية. 248-557-3645 والاستشارة مجانية. برنامج يور رايتس مع المحامية جومانا كيروز المختصة في قضايا حوادث السيارات، مع نخبة من المحامين في اختصاصات عدة منها الطلاق والهجرة والإفلاس، يأتيكم الآن على الهواء مباشرة. سعدتم أوقاتا مستمعينا في كل مكان. أهلا بكم في حلقة جديدة من برنامج يور رايتس مع المحامية جومانا كيروز، وبالتأكيد على الهواء مباشرة. نستقبل اتصالاتكم ككل يوم على الأرقام 313-769-6666 519-256-123 ودائما عن طريق الواتساب 313-327-7074. دائما مكاتب المحامية جومانا كيروز تقدم استشارات مجانية في الاختصاصات التي يتعامل معها، وهي قضايا الإصابات الشخصية من ضمنها حوادث السيارات، إصابات العمل، الأخطاء الطبية، قضايا الهجرة والتجنس، قضايا الإفلاس، قضايا الضمان الاجتماعي، وقوانين العائلة. رقم الهاتف في مكتب المحامية جومانا كيروز 248-557-3645. تحياتنا لكم ونرحب بجومانا. جومانا مساء الخير.
صباح الخير رامي.
أهلا وسهلا. تسمعينا جومانا حاليا؟
رامي نعم، بس الايباد مش عم يشتغلوا، يعني وقت اللي بحطهم مع انهم مشرجين ما بسمع، فبعرف انه the quality of the recording ما رح تكون جيدة.
سوفر انه صوتك في عندنا ايكو شوية. جومانا ما اعرف احنا على السبيكر شيء ولا انه.
بعتذر رامي
طيب.
مرة
ولا يهمك.
اوكي،
احنا نسمعك بوضوح تام على فكرة جومانا. ما اعرف اذا انت تسمعينا بشكل واضح.
that's okay. عم تسمعني منيح؟
تمام، نسمعك بوضوح تام. اهلا وسهلا بك جومانا.
أهلا وسهلا فيك رامي، وأهلا وسهلا بكل المستمعين، وأهلا وسهلا بضيفتنا لليوم مثل كل نهار ثلاثاء المحامية ماريا بانشينكو، اختصاصية في family law وcriminal law وأمور أخرى. Good afternoon, Attorney Maria Panchenko. How are you today?
I'm doing well, Joumana. Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you okay. Good afternoon to you. How are you doing today?
Very good. Thank you, Joumana. How are you doing?
Doing good. Thank you very much. I do apologize. I don't have my earpods on, so if you're getting an echo, it may be from me, but that's the best I can do. I don't know what's going on. While you're talking, I'm going to try the AirPods again on and see if it works. If not, I will switch to the speaker again. Last Tuesday, we talked about a number of things, and we said we hope we will be able to talk about expungements. We've been talking about, or the media has been talking about expungement laws, expungement laws recently, because the Michigan legislature has passed a law recently, and that law will go into effect in April of 2021. So in about 3 months' time, right?
Yes.
I also heard the chief of the Michigan Supreme Court, Justice Bridget McCormack, say that it is the law is avant-garde, and other states in the country are looking at the enactment of this law as a guide because they want to change laws in their own states, and that we're pretty much avant-garde with this law. Do you agree?
I do. I agree. And all of the reports of this is truly showing that Michigan is one of the first states to enact a reform of its expungement laws to this degree. And when I say this degree, I mean it's expanding the ability for people all over the state to be eligible for expungement in a way that's never been done before.
Okay, very good. And there is a lot of excitement about it. Let us begin by reminding the listeners that the new expungement laws, the ones that have been passed but will not start take effect until April of this year, are only about state expungements. We're only talking about expunging state misdemeanors and state felonies. These laws do not apply. They do not apply to federal misdemeanors and federal felonies. Correct?
Correct. This would only be under Michigan expungement. So, in other words, like you said, federal crimes that are on your federal record and on your criminal history are not going to be eligible under this law for expungement.
Now, very quickly, are there federal expungements? Do they exist?
I believe I do not practice federal law, but my understanding is it is extremely limited, and only you would absolutely need to reach out to a federal attorney because at that stage it is so limited that it's almost an impossibility. That's how it's always been explained to me.
اوكي اول نقطه بدنا نوصلها انه في قوانين نمضي عليها بس ببلش تطبيقها بأبريل من هالسنه، يعني بعد 3 شهور، وهي بتخص الاشخاص اللي عندهم الرغبه واللي بيتمنوا انه ينظفوا سجلهم الجنائي. وقت بنقول جنائي عم نقول بطريقه عامه، يعني يمكن يكون جنحه او يمكن تكون جناية، بس بنقول السجل الجنائي، يعني the criminal record, without specifically saying if it is a misdemeanor or if it is a felony. أول نقطة بدنا نوصلها إنه القانون اللي عم نحكي عنه اليوم هيدا فقط بيتطبق لجنح وجنايات على صعيد الولاية، مش جنح أو جنايات فيدرالية. يعني الإنسان اللي has been convicted، يعني اتهم وأثبتت التهمة وطلع الحكم ضده فيدراليا، هذا القانون اليوم ما بيتطبق عليه. من وقت لوقت بيجينا سؤال عن هذا الموضوع. Federal crimes، نحن اليوم عم نحكي عن state crimes وقدرة الإنسان والتغيير بالقانون اللي كتير عالم are excited about، لأنه القانون اللي موجود بعده لحد أبريل للحقيقة هو قانون كتير صارم وكتير ظالم، لأنه الإنسان تحت القانون اللي بعده موجود لليوم في ولاية ميشيغان بده يضل يعاني من مشاكل إنه هو طلع حكم ضده جنائياً أو بمسدمينر من 20 سنة ومن 30 سنة، يعني will never get a chance again، يعني will always have the stain on his record. مشان هيك في كتير lawmakers، في كتير advocates، في كتير قضاة، في كتير محاميين are very happy، مش بس المعنيين بالأمر are very happy for the new law، لأنه عن جد the old law اللي بعدها old law لحد April of this year is very 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 hard. بس أول نقطة بدنا نوصلها إنه القانون اللي عم نحكي عنه هو فقط it applies to state crimes, state felonies و state misdemeanors. بالنسبة للفederal crimes لازم الإنسان يتكلم مع المحامي تبعه. برأيها هي المحامية ماريا اللي ما اللي does not practice federal law. القانون كتير صارم هناك، ويمكن في very narrow exceptions، يعني ظروف ضيقة كتير وين ممكن، وكمان مرة بتطلب إنه ما حدا يتكل على اللي عم بتقوله، ممكن إنه الإنسان اللي طلع الحكم ضده فيدراليا يقدر ينظف سجله الجنائي، لازم يتكلم مع المحامي تبعه. وإنما اللي عم نحكي عنه اليوم تنظيف السجل الجنائي هو على صعيد الولاية، ومثل ما قلنا الولايات الأخرى عيونها على هذا القانون، لأنه ميشيغان بالفعل من الأوائل في الولايات المتحدة لتطلع هذا القانون. فالولايات الأخرى رح تستعمل ولاية ميشيغان كمثل وكقدوة لحتى هي كمان تطلع كل ولاية قوانينها بهذا الموضوع. وكمان مرة القوانين هي موجودة في expungement laws، مش نحن هلأ عم نخترع new expungement laws، في expungement laws، but ال expungement laws اللي موجودين حاليا واللي رح يضلوا موجودين لحد April 2021 they don't go very far، محدودين جدا. يعني عن جد الإنسان اللي تثبت عليه تهمة رح يضل عايش معه كل عمره، ورح تأثر عليه سلبيا بعدة مواقف بحياته. ورح نحكي ليه بيهمنا ككونسيومر أو كلاي بيرسون، ليه بيهمنا إنه القوانين عم تتغير وإنه هلأ صارت منصفة أكتر، لأنه قصة السجل الجنائي تبع الإنسان ممكن تأثر على قدرته إنه يستأجر بيت، ممكن يأثر على قدرته إنه يحصل على جوب، ممكن تأثر على قدرته إنه ياخد منحة، ممكن تأثر على قدرته إنه يربي أولاده. رح نحكي عن هدول بتفاصيل بطريقة كتير مفصلة، وكل ما رح نحكي عنهم كل ما المستمعين رح يفهموا أكتر ليش كتير عالم اللي هن ادفوكيتس مبسوطين على القانون الجديد، لأنه تحت القانون القديم اللي بعده لحد أبريل الإنسان العمر كله لو عاش 40 سنة سجله نظيف رح يضل اللي على سجله من 45 سنة haunting him. يعني هذا الإنسان will never be able to really start a new life، لأنه القوانين اللي كانت موجودة اللي ما زالت موجودة صارمة جدا. وإنما كتر خير الله هيدي القوانين بده يبلش تغييرها ابتداء من أبريل 2021. كنت حابة ناخد وقفة سريعة، بس عنا الأستاذ محمد، we have a caller، الأستاذ محمد على الخط، بناخد اتصاله ومنكمل.
جمان هو سؤاله على الواتساب، بعث السؤال إذا حبيت تشوفي. نعم.
نعم. سؤال الأستاذ محمد: How do I know؟ كيف بعرف if I am qualified for expungement، إذا أنا مؤهل لتنظيف سجلي second degree child abuse؟ أستاذ محمد، I assume you've been accused and convicted. نحن عم نحكي عن مش بس اتهام، عم نحكي عن تثبيت التهمة، يعني conviction. I'm going to assume that you're saying that you have been convicted of second degree child abuse. القانون اللي رح تحكينا عنه ماريا ما بيقول إنه كل جناية أو كل جنحة qualifies. أنت هلأ سألتنا سؤال من الأسئلة اللي نحن كنا بدنا نحكي عنها أصلاً، إنه مش كل جناية بتنمحى، وهذا شيء منطقي طبعاً، ومش كل جنحة بتنمحى. في نوع الجناية، في عدد الجنايات، في نوع الجنح، وفي عدد الجنح. Attorney Maria Panchenko, let's take a quick break, and after we come back, we're going to answer a question we received from Mr. Muhammad, who wants to know if someone has been convicted of second-degree child abuse, can she or he be qualified under the new laws for expunging the records?
مكاتب المحامية جومانا كيروز تتمنى لكم السلامة في ظل انتشار وباء كوفيد-19. المحامية جومانا كيروز مثلت على مدى 22 عاما ضحايا حوادث السيارات مع طاقم من المحامين ذوي الخبرة، وحصلت لموكليها على تعويضات بمئات الملايين من الدولارات. قبل أن تختار المحامي الذي سيدافع عن قضيتك، دقق في تاريخه المهني. ومع مكاتب جومانا كيروز ستنذهل بآراء مئات الموكلين وخبراتهم الإيجابية في جوجل ريفيوز. مكاتب المحامية جومانا كيروز يتحدثون لغتك العربية والكلدانية. 248-557-3645 والاستشارة مجانية. Your Rights مع المحامية جومانا كيروز. عودة إلى برنامج Your Rights مع المحامية جومانا كيروز. أرقام الهواتف في الاستوديو 313-769-6666 519-256-1023 ودائما عن طريق الواتساب 313-327-7074. جومانا نرجع لك.
شكرا. السؤال هو كل شيء ممكن تكون available للإكسبانجمنت وبالتحديد second degree child abuse, and again we're assuming it is a conviction, يعني اتهم وأثبت التهمة ضده for second degree child abuse. Attorney Maria Panchenko.
Well, unfortunately, under both the old and the new Clean Slate Bill, second degree child abuse is one of the convictions that would not allow any expungement. So even under the Michigan's Clean Slate legislation, one of the offenses that cannot be expunged, either by application or automatically is second degree child abuse. So under that conviction, unfortunately, you would not be eligible for an expungement.
Okay, so the one point we want to bring across here is that on by the way, the Clean Slate Bill, that's the name of the new law that becomes effective in April.
Correct.
Not every felony qualifies. The very serious felonies, they do not qualify. Second degree child abuse is considered a very serious felony. Other felonies that will never qualify are crimes of assault, يعني التعدي على الجسد، مثلا العنف المنزلي, domestic violence. It does not qualify. Crimes of dishonesty, retail fraud, سرقة, fraud, they do not qualify. Any offense, any conviction that has to do with life or an attempt to take the life of someone, like murder, attempt to commit murder, they do not qualify for the new law. But I want to clarify, when she says, when Maria says they do not qualify, before, in order for you to qualify, you need to apply and it has to qualify. Now, after the new law in April, you don't need to do anything. You don't need to hire a lawyer. You don't need to fill out papers. It will automatically fall off if you qualify. But do you think, Attorney Maria Panchenko, that someone filing an application and finding a motion for asking the judge to have a second degree child abuse committed 40 years ago, can this person still have a chance?
Unfortunately, no. And the ones that you had listed are, some of them will not automatically fall off, but would be qualified to do an application. And then some would not be qualified for either an application or automatic, like the life offenses. And second degree child abuse, unfortunately, is one of those that does not qualify for either.
However, maybe a crime of domestic violence and a first attempt or a first conviction and no other conviction, yes, it will not automatically fall off, but you can still file an application in front of the judge and argue your case for why it should be expunged, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so خلينا نوضح إنه في فرق من الفروق بين القانون اللي بعده لهلا والقانون من بعد أبريل، إنه قبل لو شو ما كانت الجناية أو الجنحة، كان الإنسان مضطر أو هو أو عبر المحامي تبعه يعمل ابليكيشن، يعني يقدم طلب قدام القاضي. القانون بيختلف من بعد أبريل بطريقتين. أولاً، عدد الجنح والجنايات كتر أكتر، اللي ما كان مسموح فيهم اللي بعد ما زال مسموح فيهم. بس في تغيير تاني، إنه قبل أبريل 2021 ليلي بده ينظف سجله بده يقدم ابليكيشن، يا هو شخصياً يا عبر المحامي تبعه. من بعد أبريل 2021 بتصير أوتوماتيك، يعني الشخص منه بحاجة لا يعبي أوراق ولا يستعين بمحامي ولا هو يقوم بالمهمة، وإنما في بعض جنايات أو جنح مثل مثلا domestic violence، هيدي ما بتنزل automatically من بعد القانون الجديد، لأنه القانون الجديد قايل إنه a crime of assault، يعني بيتعدى على جسد الإنسان، منه اوتوماتيك إنه ينزل. بس هيدا ما بيعني، هون النقطة اللي بدنا نوصلها، إنه لكرايم مثل domestic violence الشخص إن كان هو أو عبر المحامي تبعه بيقدر يقدم ابليكيشن ويقنع القاضي إنه بيستاهل إنه ينمحى من سجله القانوني وسجله الجنائي، لنقول لأنه صار عمره طويل، لنقول لأنه ما عاد في أي تهمة تانية، ما في any other pending crimes, any other convictions، والقاضي يمكن ساعتها يسمح انه هيدي الكونفكشن تنمحى من ملفه للانسان. يعني في شغلتين مختلفين بين القانون اللي بعده صالح لأبريل والقانون من بعد أبريل. اولا عدد المسموح فيه زاد كتير، بس برضه في اشياء غير مسموح فيها، مثل مثلا المتصل اللي حكينا عن second degree child abuse. هيدي القانون القديم، القانون الجديد ما رح تأثر عليه إيجابيا بأي طريقة، لأنه هي من الجنح أو الجنايات الغير مسموح فيها. بس في منهم ما لا ممكن. والفرق الثاني بالقانون أنه قبل أبريل الإنسان بده يسعى بالأمر، من بعد أبريل it will automatically fall off. وإنما هيدا ما بيمنع أنه الإنسان اللي عنده جنحة أو جناية مثل مثلا domestic violence بيقدر it will not automatically fall off. هيك القانون الجديد بيقول، بس بيقدر يقدم طلب ويقنع القاضي، وحسب الظروف ممكن القاضي يقتنع ويشله إياها من الملف الجنائي تبعه. so مش قصة معقدة، بس يمكن قصة إنه ما عم بقدر فسرها بطريقة واضحة مثل ما أنا رايدة. الفرق بين القانون القديم اللي بعده القانون لحد أبريل والقانون الجديد، أولا عدد المسموح فيه إنه ينشال من الملف رح يكتر كتير 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 كتير. هيدي شغلة كتير منيحة. بس تاني شيء إنه قبل لازم نعمل طلب مع المحكمة، من بعد مش مضطرين نعمل طلب للمحكمة. شوي مثل الكريدت ريبورت تبع الإنسان، معلومة عمرها 7 سنين مفروض تروح منها لحالها، مش مفروض الإنسان يعمل أي شيء ليشيلها من الكريدت ريبورت تبعه. هون تقريبا ذات الشيء، بس في بعض الجنايات والجنح القانون الجديد برضو بيقول هيدول ما رح يكونوا اوتوماتيك، بدنا قاضي يبث فيهم، ينظر عليهم، ويقرر القاضي إذا بيستاهل هيدا الإنسان إنه تنشال من السجل تبعه ولا لا. اللي عم يتسمى علينا يتأكد من المحامي تبعه إنه لربما الجنحة أو الجناية اللي عنده منا أوتوماتيك، يعني ما بتروح منا لحالها، بات هيدا ما بيمنع الإنسان أوقات حسب شو هي إنه يقدم طلب قدام القاضي ويقدر يعفي عنها بهيدي الطريقة. وقت اللي منقول إنه القانون بده الجناية أو الجنحة بدها تنمحى منا لحالها، كان عندنا سؤال وقت اللي حكينا عن هيدا الموضوع بأكتوبر 10 مع المحامية، أكتوبر 10 سنة الماضي 2020، يعني من تقريبا 3 شهور. اجينا سؤال من شخص قال إذا صار عدد هلأ الجنح والجنايات كتير كبيرة والقانون بيضل يغفر للإنسان وبيضل يغفر للإنسان وبيضل يغفر للإنسان، شو بيمنع الإنسان من إنه يرتكب جناية أو جنح قد ما بده ويضل القانون يغفر له يغفر له يغفر له؟ هون نقطة بدنا نقولها ليلي ارتكب جنحة أو جناية، القانون الجديد بيأهله إنه ينعفى عنها تنمحي. There is a waiting period. There is a 7-year waiting period. يعني ما يفكر المستمع إذا لا سمح الله اليوم طلع حكم فيه بعد 2 أو 3 سنة أو سنتين بتروح عن سجله. Absolutely not. بده ينتظر 7 سنوات. هيدا القانون منه ما بيغفر بسرعة، بيغفر بس مش بسرعة. للإنسان طلع الحكم ضده اليوم، إذا كان الجناية أو الجنحة هن من اللي بينسمح لهم إنه ينشالوا، مثلا second degree child abuse no، بس لنقول first drunk driving offense yes first، بس أول مرة. هيدي على فكرة هيدي من الجنح اللي ما كان ever مسموح فيها بالقانون القديم. بالقانون الجديد إذا إنسان عمل first time offender صار عنده conviction for drunk driving بيحق له إنه تنمحى بالقانون الجديد وبلا ما يحاول يعمل شيء it will automatically go. But إذا كانت drunk driving بعتذر it will require an application with emotion بس قبل never. يعني بالقانون القديم أي drunk driving offense حتى لو أول وحدة بدها تضل على سجله للإنسان إلى أبد الآبدين طالما هو عايش. بالقانون الجديد أول مرة فقط أول conviction فقط بيقدر يمحيها بس بده يقدم عليها application with emotion. But بده ينتظر 7 سنوات. يعني الإنسان اللي طلع الحكم ضده اليوم بده ينتظر 7 سنوات ليعمل طلب قدام المحكمة لحتى المحكمة تقول له أوكي. وسلوكه بهال7 سنوات ردا على الشخص اللي حكينا بأكتوبر 10 عم بيقول شو بيمنع الإنسان إنه يرتكب جرائم ورا جنايات ورا جرائم لأنه it's always a second chance, it's always a second chance. There is a long waiting period during which 7 years during which you must show that you have no other criminal pending charges against you and you must show that there have been no other convictions against you. يعني it's for good behavior. يعني الإنسان اللي طلع الحكم في اليوم ناطر 7 سنوات إذا بهال7 سنوات سلوكه كان جيد ما صار any pending criminal charges ضده بهال7 سنوات which is long أو ما عنده any other convictions ساعتها بعد 7 سنوات حسب شو هي التهمة يا it falls off on its own. شو هي الconviction بعتذر مش تهمة هي إثبات التهمة. It's not charges, it's conviction. إذا مرق 7 سنوات ساعتها بتروح من الملف تبعه. رامي إن شاء الله أكون عم وضح بطريقة واضحة. أنا اليوم شوي تعبانة
كثير واضح جمانة حقيقة كثير شرحك يعني مسبب واضح.
أوكي يعني القانون اللي لحد أبريل مختلف عن القانون من بعد أبريل. القانون قبل أبريل ما كان يسمح بكتير إشياء. القانون من بعد أبريل في كتير جنح وجنايات رح يكون مسموح فيها. القانون قبل أبريل بيطلب من أي إنسان كان مسمح له أصلاً إنه يقدم application وأغلبية الأوقات بده يستعين بمحامي ليعملها صح. القانون من بعد أبريل إذا مرق 7 سنوات بين الكونفكشن وإذا مرق 7 سنوات أوتوماتيكلي بلا ما الإنسان يعمل أي جهد أو يستعين بمحامي بدها تنزل الكونفكشن من الملف تبعه الجنائي. Attorney Maria Panchenko, we had another question. We're talking today about expungements because it's a hot topic. It's a topic that is making a lot of people happy, whether it's people who have been carrying the burden of having crimes, whether they were felonies or misdemeanors on their records for years and years and years, and they have changed their life and they were sorry and maybe they were the victim of bad circumstances and they have been really trying and it's a stain on their record. Those people are very, very happy about the new laws, deservedly so. And also advocates and prison right reform advocates and judges and justices and lawyers are all very happy because it's fair, because it's not right to have someone who has been doing good for 10, 15, 20, 30 years still have to answer to employers, to landlords, to government contractors, to schools, to whatever, about the fact that 20 years ago and 10 years ago and 15 years ago, they committed a crime for which they were convicted. Even worse, maybe they didn't commit the crime and they were convicted. So these are fair laws and people are happy about them in all areas of life, in all walks of life. And other states in the United States are looking to Michigan because it's being, at the forefront of enacting such beautiful laws. The name of that law is, again, the first slate bill, which is no longer a bill. It's now a law. Only it becomes effective in April of 2021. Attorney Maria Panchenko, we have another question. How much does it cost to get your criminal record expunged in Michigan? Well, Mr. Leith, that assumes that you have a misdemeanor or a felony that is expungible. Because like we said, under the law until April, or even after April, some things you can never expunge. Maria, having said that, can you address the question?
Well, if you're filing an application, you would, after, with the new law, the Clean Slate Bill would automatically expunge your record on some cases, as you've already discussed. But if you fall under the category of someone who needs to file an application, you're going to have to pay the fee to file the application, which includes inside of it also a $50 fee to the Michigan State Police that will generate for you your official state police record, which is required to be attached to your petition. So there are multiple different fees that you have to pay. And then if you elect to hire an attorney, which I advise, especially with the new law and all the changes, and even before the new law, even more so because of its complexity. You're looking at somewhere between, depending on, again, like you said, if it's a misdemeanor or a felony situation, you're looking at somewhere between $1,500 to $2,500 to get everything done with an attorney. Now,
why do you recommend that one hires an attorney? What are the pitfalls or the dangers of doing this wrong, so to speak?
Well, before the new law, I almost insisted that you hire an attorney because you only get one shot at trying to expunge your record. You
in
only
front
get
of the judge.
Right. You only have one chance to apply, and if you're denied, you cannot apply again. So if you make a mistake or you fail to do it correctly and you do not attach or serve all of the people you need to serve, you don't attach all of the things that you need to attach, you don't fill out the paperwork properly, you couldn't be denied on its face for the fact that you didn't comply with the statute. And it wouldn't have been so much as any fault of your own, as you're not an attorney and you're not skilled to do it. So unfortunately, some people were getting denied just for failing to comply with the statute and the requirements needed to file the application. It's still my opinion, especially now that the law has changed and it's so complex and there's so many different subcategories of this or that, that you need to make sure that you're following, that you hire an attorney to do it so that when it's done correctly and you have your best chance for success in getting your expungement and not wasting your opportunity to get it expunged where you'd otherwise be qualified to do so just based on the fact that you did not do the application correctly.
And also, for example, let's say drunk driving. If you had one before the new law, you can never get a chance at expunging it. Now, under the new law, you will have a chance if you have had only one conviction. And let's say somebody 6 years ago was convicted of drunk driving, which under the new law could never be expunged. You wait 7 years, so that is in about 1 year from now.
That one wouldn't require you to wait the 7 years, though, because it's an application that has a different process.
So if you are applying, for example, say domestic violence, you do not need to wait 7 years. 7 years is when it falls off on its own.
That is correct for those misdemeanors, the 7-year rule. And the 7-year rule does kind of follow suit with felony convictions for if you're applying to have a felony conviction to be expunged. But
let me ask you a question. Somebody has been convicted of drunk driving 6 years ago. You said effective April of this year, they can now file an application. That's one of the nice changes about the old law and the new law. All drunk driving offenses and convictions could never be expunged, but now if it's a first time only, you can submit for an application, right?
If it's first time
after April.
Yes, if it's a first conviction and it did not result in an injury or death of another person, you can apply to have it expunged.
Right. So this is a good example for when you would need a lawyer. It's drunk driving. So a lot of judges are prejudiced against, doing anything for the person, making that application. You want a good advocate on your behalf that can show the judge what a changed person you are and that you are no longer a risk on the road to other people. In addition to all the, like you said, the not administrative, but procedural requirements. You don't want to You don't want to you don't want to lose the chance because you have only one chance at submitting one application. You either win it or you lose it. You could lose it because procedurally you failed to serve someone, or you can lose it on the merits because a good lawyer is always best situated to argue your case in front of a judge, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay. So to wrap up again, Mr. Lay's question, how much does it cost to get your record expunged in Michigan? One, Mr. Lay, assuming that your felony or misdemeanor is a kind that qualifies, that can be forgiven, and if it is automatic, you don't need to pay for it. But assumed in your question is that it's the kind that requires an application, correct?
Correct. If it's the kind that needs an application, then like I said, there's going to be some fees and fines that are going to be due to both the court and to the state police, and then paying for an attorney. And it can range between, like I said, between $1,500 to $2,500.
And by the way, the 7 years, that's only for misdemeanors. So if someone committed a misdemeanor and they are in good behavior, no new convictions, no pending charges, then the qualifying misdemeanor will automatically fall off after 7 years. But if it is a felony, again, you have to show no pending charges and no new convictions during 10 years. So for a felony, you have to wait 10 years. For a misdemeanor, it is 7 years, correct?
For the automatic process, yes, there's for qualifying felonies, there are some that will fall off.
Okay, let's say, let's use an example of a misdemeanor that somebody was convicted of 6 years ago. 6 years ago. So it's before the new law. Will that person's conviction, qualifying misdemeanor conviction, fall off automatically in 1 year under the new law, as long as no convictions and no pending charges?
Yes, if they're otherwise qualified under the new law, that it should fall off, just as if it would be something that would be a new case that happened after the law was enacted.
Okay, so 6 years ago counts, and then you have to wait 1 more year.
Right, now with the new law.
With the new law. So the new law doesn't just apply to new crimes. The new law goes back 7 years and 10 years. Yeah. What if somebody committed a felony 9.5 years ago? And let's assume it's the kind of felony that qualifies for an automatic expungement, meaning you don't need to do anything about it. Then this person is only waiting another 6 months.
Yes, they're saying, the news has been saying that they're going to expect a little bit of delays from April, just because they're going to be getting the system processing.
Yes.
But yes, you would be eligible for that in April, and you might not see it. Everyone's reporting that you might not see it fall off until October while they get the system set up. But after it's all set up, it should be very much so automatic. It's just going to take some time for them to get their procedures in place and, make sure that they're able to. They're going to have to review a lot of files, Joumana. There's a lot of them out there. Yes, of
course. Yes, indeed. Before we take Mr. Ali's question, let's take a very quick break. Then we'll take Mr. Ali's question. We have 15 more minutes. For anyone who's interested about the new laws about expungement, تنظيف السجل الجنائي تبع الإنسان، في قوانين مهمة وجيدة وصالحة رح تبلش تطبيقها ابتداء من أبريل 2021. بترجع 7 سنوات لورا لأي مستمينر، بترجع 10 سنوات لورا لأي فلني، طالما المستمينر أو الفلني هن من اللي القانون الجديد بيسمح بإمحائهم، ساعتها بينمحوا منهم لحالهم automatic expungement. منه بحاجة الإنسان مثل بالقانون القديم يقدم application ويقنع القاضي إنه هو بيستاهل إنه تنشال شغلة من السجل الجنائي تبعه. وقفة سريعة ونرجع.
مكاتب المحامية جومانا كيروز تتمنى لكم السلامة في ظل انتشار وباء كوفيد-19. المحامية جومانا كيروز مثلت على مدى 22 عاما ضحايا حوادث السيارات مع طاقم من المحامين ذوي الخبرة، وحصلت لموكليها على تعويضات بمئات الملايين من الدولارات. قبل أن تختار المحامي الذي سيدافع عن قضيتك، دقق في تاريخه المهني. ومع مكاتب جومانا كيروز ستنذهل بآراء مئات الموكلين وخبراتهم الإيجابية في جوجل ريفيوز. مكاتب المحامية جومانا كيروز يتحدثون لغتك العربية والكلدانية. 248-557-3645 والاستشارة مجانية. Your Rights مع المحامية جومانا كيروز.
عودة إلى برنامج Your Rights مع المحامية جومانا كيروز. أرقام الهواتف في الاستوديو 313-769-6666 519-256-1023، ودائما على الواتساب الرقم هو 313-327-7074. جومانا نرجع لك.
شكرا. سؤال الأستاذ ليث وسؤال الأستاذ علي، اثنيناتهم ناقص فيهم شو نوع الجناية أو الجنحة اللي عم يسألوا عنها، لأنه كمان مرة في بعض الجنح وبعض الجنايات لو شو ما عمل الإنسان قانون القديم ولا الجديد ما رح ينعفى عنها، وفي بعض الجنايات وبعض الجنح ممكن ينعفى عنها، وفي بعض الجنايات والجنح منها لحالها رح ينعفى عنها، وفي بعض الجنايات والجنح حتى من بعد القانون الجديد بده الإنسان يقدم ابليكيشن. أستاذ علي، وقت اللي بتقلنا عندك فلني من 20 سنة، يا ريت بتوضح لنا شو هي الفلني، لأنه الجواب رح يختلف لنجاوبك عليه حسب نوعية الفلني. هل هي من النوع اللي qualifies ولا هل هي من النوع اللي does not qualify? So Mr. Ali's question is, if a felony is 20 years old, will it show up, let's say now, will it show up on a background check? Let's say after April, will it show up on a background check? Maria.
If it is one of the felonies that qualifies under the automatics process, it should fall off. If it is one
after April.
After April, it should fall off. If it's before April, it's going to be showing up. Absolutely.
Right. But if it is the kind of felony that old law or new law does not qualify, it will show now, it will show in April, and it will show in 20 years.
Yes. And if it's one that allows for you to apply, then you will be eligible, being that it's 20 years old. Granted that you have met all the other, terms and conditions under the new law, you should be able to apply to have this felony expunged as soon as the new law is. It's kind of difficult to answer not knowing what kind of felony it is, because there's
exactly
so many.
Why I asked Mr. Ali if he can tell us what felony it is, because if it is the kind of felony that qualifies, good news, Mr. Ali. After April, at some point, it won't show anymore. But if it is the kind of felony that doesn't qualify, it's going to be on your record for as long as you live.
Yes, or until you expunge it, if it is by application, if it's eligible for application. There's just so many different routes it could go depending on what type of crime it was.
Exactly. When we say qualify, we mean qualify for automatic expungement, which is to be differentiated from qualify for an application for expungement, which is different from you can never qualify because say it's murder or it is, retail fraud or anything like that. So some are completely nothing you can do about them. Some will qualify for being automatically on their own wiped out, and some you can ask the judge to look into your case and allow you to wipe it out as soon as you have met the requirements and you prove to the judge that you are worthy of that expungement. So it's one of three things. It's never allowed, or it is eligible to be wiped out on its own, or eligible to be wiped out, but upon application and approval of the judge only. You said during the 10 years, if it's a conviction, if it's a felony, or the 7 years, if it is a misdemeanor, you have to be in good behavior. You have to not have had any new pending charges against you and not been convicted of any other misdemeanor or felony, correct?
Yes, those are two of the qualifying circumstances. And I know we also
under the new law. Under the new law, yes. And I know, and I'm not sure if you already mentioned when you were translating the maximum two Have not
requirement.
yet. Have not
Yes.
gotten to that yet. You
That was
cannot have an unlimited number of felony convictions and an unlimited number of misdemeanor convictions and just wait your 7 years and wait your 10 years and be okay. At some point, the new law says, look, the most we can give you is 2 felony convictions and 4 misdemeanor convictions. And after that, you can commit and be convicted of up to only 6 crimes. On the 7th crime, sorry.
Yes, you're going to
You
have
may
to
have
either
to
file.
apply.
Yeah, exactly.
You may have to apply. Again, we're talking about automatic expungement. Let's not forget that some things may not qualify for an automatic expungement, but your criminal law attorney should advise you of whether or not they qualify for an application. يعني طلب قدام القاضي. I'll give an example again. Drunk driving offenses were never under the old law, still good until April, were never ever eligible for expungement. Even if you try to write an application, there were no-nos. You could never. It had to stay on your record all your life. With the new law changing in April, if you had already a one-time only, a first time only conviction for drunk driving, you will be eligible for expungement, but it's not going to be an automatic expungement. You still have to appear in front of the judge. That's a new change, effective in April of this year. You still have to appear in front of the judge and convince the judge why you are a changed person. And again, these applications, if you are eligible for an application, it is Attorney Maria Panchenko's advice to hire an attorney. And it's very simple. The reason for that is you get only one chance. So if you blow it up, excuse my language, or if you lose that chance, you cannot do it again. So it's almost like you're dismissed with prejudice, so to speak.
Yes. I have only seen one instance where a judge has allowed a person to withdraw their application rather than have him rule that the expungement would be denied. And it was out of compassion because of a technical error that was not the fault of the defendant. And that was very gracious for him to allow him to withdraw the application because it gave him the opportunity to try again. Most cases, if not all cases, they will rule on the application and the petition that you filed. And if they deny it, that is it. You cannot file another petition.
Okay. Reminding the listeners that we are talking to Attorney Maria Panchenko, our family law and criminal law attorney. She is explaining to us today about the new expungement laws. Again, these are only applied to state crimes, not to federal crimes. That does not mean that there may not be some federal crimes that are eligible for some kind of expungement. Talk to your federal attorney. Here in the state of Michigan, the law is changing in a really, really wonderful way. Let's take a final break, and then we're going to talk, unless we get any questions, we're going to talk about why this is so exciting for people.
مكاتب المحامية جومانا كيروز تتمنى لكم السلامة في ظل انتشار وباء كوفيد-19. المحامية جومانا كيروز مثلت على مدى 22 عاما ضحايا حوادث السيارات مع طاقم من المحامين ذوي الخبرة، وحصلت لموكليها على تعويضات بمئات الملايين من الدولارات. قبل أن تختار المحامي الذي سيدافع عن قضيته، دقق في تاريخه المهني. ومع مكاتب جومانا كيروز ستنذهل بآراء مئات الموكلين وخبراتهم الإيجابية في جوجل ريفيوز. مكاتب المحامية جومانا كيروز يتحدثون لغتك العربية والكلدانية. 248-557-3645 والاستشارة مجانية.
عودة إلى برنامج جون رايت مع المحامية جومانا كيروز، دائما على الهواء مباشرة. أرقام الهواتف في الاستوديو 313-769-6666 519-256-1023 وعلى الواتساب 313-327-7074. جومانا نرجع لك.
Shukran. Attorney Maria Panchenko, before we talk about the marvelous advantages of the new law, can we talk a little bit, and we have 7 minutes remaining, so we want to do this fast. Can we talk quickly about the old law, the law that's still in effect for another 2 months forget the automatic requiring application. Can you tell me what crimes, what misdemeanors and felonies were even eligible in the first place, and what misdemeanors and felonies were not?
Well, it's very similar to what they're doing now, but life offenses, for instance, like you have already said, murder cases, attempted murder cases, anything that had a penalty of up to life in prison would not be eligible for expungement. You've already discussed DUIs, anything driving related or drinking related have never been allowed to be expunged in the past. Traffic related misdemeanors, for instance, driving while license suspended or something along those lines. Additionally, crimes, of course, to do with sexual assault have not been allowed to be expunged. Child abuse cases we've discussed as well. All of those very serious felonies have never been allowed to be expunged in those drinking and traffic related misdemeanors. Now, the change in the law is really only being seen as far as what can be expunged. The change is really being seen with the drinking and traffic related offenses.
DUI attorneys are very happy about this.
Yeah, this is really a chance for people. I mean, you have somebody who has a DUI from 15 years ago and never got another one. They can't enter Canada. They cannot go to Canada still to this day because they
Why
have
is that?
It's Canada's law.
What
They
does
don't allow
Canada's
it.
law say?
You cannot have a DUI on your record at all. And
So
if you do,
see,
you
to
cannot.
our listeners, you see how unfair the laws are?
Yes,
And
it
will
affects.
be until April for another 2. So those are people who, if they file an application after April and get it expunged, they can now enter Canada.
Right. Our laws have affected even your rights in other countries. So it's very important. And the DUI change just came down in October. It was not initially written into the original bill, the clean slate bill.
Yeah.
It's brand new. It just got changed.
Okay, very quickly, another change is I don't think you could have up to 4 misdemeanors and 2 felonies under the old law that you can expunge if they qualify. I think it was more limited, much more limited in numbers.
Yes, two felonies and 2 misdemeanors are your absolute maximum to even qualify to apply right now. So, and with all the other
But after April, it will be 6.
Yeah, it will be changed for the automatic process, absolutely. And it's changed for the application process as well. They've increased it to 3 felony convictions for an application.
Right.
So, it absolutely is giving more people an opportunity to change their life in a very meaningful way.
Sure. With 2 minutes remaining, I'm going to run through some of the other benefits. Sometimes when you apply for a job and they make you sign an application, they will ask you questions about whether or not you have been convicted. Attorney Maria Panchenko says once you have a crime expunged and you get asked the question, have you been convicted? Then you can legally say no. Let me repeat that. Even if you have been convicted, once you take advantage of the new law and it falls off, if you get asked the question, have you been convicted of that crime? As soon as that crime for which you were convicted of has been expunged, you can accurately and truthfully answer no. Another one is government jobs. We talked about that on October 10. The government will look into your background. And although your government will know there have been expungements and what they are, it will still help. Some government jobs you may never be able to get. Maria was telling me maybe a Pentagon contract might not be in the works for you, but maybe with the, I don't know, with the State Department of Human Affairs, you might be able to, or with the Road Commission, you might be able to. Landlords ask questions all the time about your criminal record. And if they ask you about convictions, if they've fallen off, you can truthfully answer no. College loans, scholarships, and all of that. And the last one is children And that was new to me. Maria educated me on this last time. Apparently, it's some kind of federal law whereby schools can inquire about parents' criminal background, and depending on what they find, may deny the parents, the ability to be with their children, serve as coaches, accompany them to bake sales, school trips, and so forth and so on. And Maria has represented some parents in that regard. We have less than 30 seconds remaining. Attorney Maria Panchenko, amazing information on the new laws on expungement. Rami, thank you. Thank you to our listeners and those who sent us questions. Tomorrow with Howard Radner, premises liability, slip and fall, trip and fall.